Okay, so yeah, we haven't made a Vancouver Canucks video since the Edmonton-Vancouver postgame on Saturday. It has been a while because I have been out and about. So we are back. There are a few things that I needed to go over here before we fully dive into the scope of Vancouver Canucks content and news. I am pre-recording this on the night of Monday, November 11th, so whatever stories come out on the 12th, any call-ups, any sending downs, any updates with Dakota Joshua or whomever else is in the Canucks lineup, we'll talk about that in a later video before the Canucks playoff against... Who in the world is their opponent today? Calgary? Yeah, it's Calgary. But before we dive into all that, I wanted to give a really nice little piece of acknowledgement to a Vancouver Canucks young guy that, for a brief second, was a part of the Vancouver organization earlier this weekend. Ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to turn your attention to Ty Young, currently, at the time of recording this audio, of the Abbotsford Canucks. Because Young had himself a quick cup of coffee with the Vancouver Canucks in a pretty surprising fashion. This is because earlier on November 10th, GM Patrick Allvin announced that Artyom Bains, Nils Åman, and Artur Silayev had been assigned to Abbotsford, and that forward Jonathan Lekkerimaki and goaltender Ty Young have been recalled from Abbotsford. This was a really surprising move, not just because, Lekkerimaki is up, that's great, we expected him to get called up, but because Artur Silayev got sent down. And because the aforementioned Ty Young was indeed called up. This is a very interesting progression for a guy in Young who was only up for a day. Like, let's just be clear here, the Abbotsford Canucks did play a game on that same November 10th, and hey, Artur Silayev looked pretty strong. It was an Abbotsford 4-2 victory over the Bakersfield Condors, and just in case you needed the scoop, yeah, Bains, Åman, and Silayev did play for Abbotsford in this game. Silayev made 23 saves on 25 shots against, so pretty good save percentage there. Artyom Bains had an assist, and Nils Åman also had an assist. So they got sent down literally for the game of the day. Ty Young and Lekkerimaki got called back up, and shortly after, the very next day, Vancouver announced that Ty Young has been reassigned to Abbotsford and that Artur Silayev was called up. So Silayev will continue his backup, potentially starting split with Kevin Lankinen in the foreseeable future here. Now, all Lekkerimaki talk aside, we're probably going to make another video later in the afternoon talking about the Canucks lines and whether or not Lekkerimiki's actually going to find himself on the team heading into the game against Calgary. But for Ty Young, this is a really interesting opportunity for a guy who was drafted by the Vancouver Canucks all the way back in 2022. Young was a 5th round, 144th overall pick, born on September 11th, 2004, 20 years old, 6'3", 183-pound left-handed goaltender. The thing is with Ty Young, last year he was playing in the WHL, where he posted up a .903 save percentage and a .279 goals against in 37 games. In the WHL playoffs, he had a .917 save percentage in 4 games and a .262 goals against. You'll notice that for Ty Young, his progression has been very steep, because 2 seasons ago, in the Prince George Cougars playoff run, he had a 20 goals against average and a .625 save percentage. That is terrible. Sure, it was in 1 game, so the sample size is tiny, but accompanied with an .899 save percentage in the regular season, yeah, you could definitely understand that it wasn't a good number. The next season, he actually did have worse production in the regular season with Prince George, and heading into the playoffs, he only declined further. So to see the bounce-back season in 23-24, the .903 save percentage, and him finding ways to actually start stringing together dubs, it was good for the Canucks who drafted this guy all those years ago. This season as well, Ty Young has had a pretty good showing with the Kalamazoo Wings in the ECHL. He's had 2 games over there and a 101 goals against, .974 save percentage. He has yet to suit up with the Abbotsford Canucks in an actual game. He has only been the backup. The two games that Ty Young had in the ECHL system were a 3-1 victory over the Cincinnati Cyclones. In this game, he posted up 38 saves on 39 shots against for a .974 save percentage, and then the game after, wherein he lost 1-0 to the Indy Fuel, he let in the only goal of the game on 37 total shots, so another .973 save percentage in that one. Ty Young's growth has been pretty remarkable, going from a subpar to a okay WHL goalie to being a stud at the ECHL level and even getting an NHL call-up for a day. I'm not even going to suggest that Ty Young is in a position to potentially get Vancouver Canucks playing time at any point this season, or maybe even next season. But the fact that the Vancouver Canucks had this guy in Abby, they said, hey, we'll give the start to Silayev so he can get his feet going under him. We can bring Ty Young up for a day. He can experience what it's like to be a part of an NHL roster. He can play in practice. He can do all this and more, and he'll get NHL salary. That, I think, is a really good thing. They're doing very good by the player here. According to Puckpedia, Ty Young is on a two-way contract which sees him making only $82.5 thousand in the AHL. His cap hit in the NHL is $825,000. So for the one day that this guy was in the National Hockey League, his salary got 10 times itself. What is the thing where it's like an AHL player only makes $300 to $400 a day, but if you're in the NHL, that quickly goes up to $3,000 to $4,000? So, yeah, I mean, sure, $82,000. There are probably some people who are watching this video that make more money than $82,000 a year. But making that amount of money as a 20-year-old playing pro hockey in the AHL, pretty good. And getting a 10 times multiplier for at least one day because you're in the NHL for one day is also pretty good. Not to say that Ty Young is going to be making the NHL consistently and earning an $850,000 paycheck for the year, but just seeing that opportunity given to a guy, pretty strong. And to go hand in hand with this, there was this tweet published by Jeff Patterson. It's taken a few years to restock the pipeline and gain cap control, but the Vancouver Canucks are now using their nearby farm team the way management had always envisioned. If Lekaramaki plays on Tuesday, that'll be 6 guys in the first 14 games that have played in both NHL and AHL games this season. Silayev, Ratu, Baines, Oman, and Bronstrom, and including Juleson and Hoglander, who are 2 more that have spent time in Abbotsford in the past. Essentially, the point of JPat's tweet here is that the Vancouver Canucks are utilizing their close-by AHL team to their advantage, and the team has done a pretty good job in drafting and developing prospects that you can have that bridge easily crossed and easily accessible for guys who are going back and forth. No longer are you committed to having guys either sticking around in Utica and only calling them up when their presence is direly needed. Oh, the Canucks are so injured, they need to call up Darren Archibald or Richard Bachman or Alex Grenier or Hunter Shinkarik or Gauntz or whomever else. Like, there were a bunch of guys that suffered under the Utica Comets development plan because the team was so far away, and there wasn't really enough support to be able to give these guys opportunities at the NHL level whilst keeping up to date with their AHL development. Vancouver is now utilizing this to their best advantage with the guys they have right now, and I think Ty Young is a prime example of why this system works. The guy didn't even need to play a game, but just giving him that opportunity to go from the WHL to the ECHL to the AHL to the NHL in the span of a few months, that's going to do wonders for a guy who is still learning the ropes of what it means to be a pro hockey player. So for Ty Young, who has been very good in the ECHL, I wanted to make this video going over his tremendous story and why Vancouver Canucks fans should be believing in what it is Alvin and Rutherford are cooking with the prospects and AHL development. Not to mention Manny Malhotra, who was down there in the AHL system doing his thing and giving guys like, for example, Danila Klimovich more playing time and a better opportunity to develop. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Abbotsford, the notes with Ty Young, and the goaltending in general. What were your thoughts when he initially got called up? Did you think that there was a possibility that he would get the start in some NHL action down the line? I personally was kind of holding my tongue on that, like not to be all hindsight Harry on y'all, but I was saying like, yeah, I don't think he's going to play. He's probably just going to be up here for a while. Silayev's, I mean, he's supposed to be the backup for the season. Kevin Lankinen only came in because Demko was out, so There's probably a world where Silayev does get called up, Ty Young gets sent back down, and that's indeed what happened. We will see, though, what happens when Thatcher Demko does fully return if Silayev does stick around in the AHL. I would probably say that's more likely nowadays compared to at the beginning of the season, considering how bad he's played. But either way, thoughts in the comment section about Ty Young and the rest of the Canucks goaltending. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.